Alright guys, it's me the Tycoon coming back to you with another review, and this is of the Banshees of Inisherin. This reunites Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and director Martin McDoughal from In Bruges back in 2008. Now, you might have seen my review of In Bruges, and yes, this is again another black comedy, but it's kind of has a very tragic element to it. Um, it's an interesting one because there's a different pace to what I'm normally used to, which is fast paced, action packed, high octane. This was a nice welcome change to it because again, there isn't action in that sense. It's well acted, it's beautifully done, and beautifully shot in Ireland. You know, and basically this is set in 1924 in the fictional Irish island, and it's around the time when the Irish Revolution has taken place there, where I can't remember my history is that bad, but during that time of the IRA actually coming into its own, and the separations between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So this is an interesting period piece as well, and set 100 years ago. It doesn't feel like it as well because I still feel like I'm living in the previous century rather than now. And I guess a lot of people are feeling that way too. But that's by the by. So what is this movie about? So this movie is actually about two friends, lifelong friends, who are living on this island where they've got pretty much their lives and doing very little with their lives, going through the same old things each and every day. Then one day Brendan Gleeson decides that he's going to end his friendship with Colin Farrell. No rhyme, no reason whatsoever. He just decides to end it. And Colin Farrell is baffled by this. Now, Colin Farrell is living with his sister, played by Kerry Gordon, and Barry Hughes is in there as well, playing the sort of village idiot. But he does a great job in this. Now, each and every sort of character has their arc, and they are all, because of the way how it's all intertwined, it works really well because you feel that you're part of a community, even though the story is actually about two friends separating. One has no understanding why it's taking place and why it's happening, and Brendan Gleeson even trying to figure out his reasons for it as a character. It leaves you as an audience member thinking, you, are you sure? I'm still not sure why this is taking place, but it leads to some very interesting things within the town, such as well, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm gonna have to. So, spoiler alert. Brendan Gleeson actually making the promise that Colin Farrell talks to him again, he will cut off his finger. Now, Brendan Gleeson as a character, he's also a music teacher. So this is where he has made his money and so on and so forth. Colin Farrell was just doing some basic farming around his area. He's got his donkey as well. Now, donkey plays a really big part in this. Um, and of course, his sister is a lot older, and as she's getting older, she's not that kind of girl that wants to settle down and have a family kind of thing. She doesn't fall into the typical Irish trap, or whatever the stereotype is. She wants to go out there and do something. So she applies to become a librarian at a university on the mainland. And eventually she gets it. And then she gets it, she knows that she's going to leave behind her brother, who's very dependent on her. And Colin Farrell does show that. He's very dependent. Every Sunday, the usual routine, go to the pub, have a drink, have a laugh, that kind of thing. Saturday night, go to the same pub. And the pub landlord and his staff member are actually really funny because they're also trying to figure out as well what's given the change in attitude in Brendan Gleeson. And no one's actually quite sure where it is until Brendan Gleeson says, he wants to change. It is the same old thing. There's nothing different here. Everything's the same all the time. And he's fed up with it. And he does actually go through with cutting off his fingers. And this happens because Colin Farrell gets drunk and has a go at the local police officer, who's the father of the village idiot, played by Barry Keogh. And because he does that, Brendan Gleeson actually enjoys it. But because Colin Farrell's drunk, he doesn't remember what he says, and he sees Brendan Gleeson the next day and actually apologizes to him if he had said something incorrect. But because he's done that, Brendan Gleeson decides, that's it, I'm gonna follow through with my threat, and he cuts his finger, throws it at Colin Farrell's door, and walks away. This continues, and again, within this sort of environment, you're also seeing that Barry Keoghan's character is molested by his father. So there is he doesn't develop properly in that sense. He's always classed as no filter, the village idiot, so on and so forth. And there is a impasse there where there's a lake where people can fall in and drown. And unfortunately, after Barry goes to see Kerry Gordon's character in the evening before she's about to leave, he asks her, look, you've never been married, would you like to marry me? She goes, no. For obvious reasons, and because she's getting older as well. And he's like, well, you know what, that's my last chance for any kind of happiness. So he goes away, and it's nighttime, falls in, dies. The village witch is also there as well, and she is scary, but she shows, his father, the village idiot's father, look, your boy has passed away, and that leads to him withdrawing into himself as well, regret, so on and so forth, and wishing he hadn't been as abusive to his son while he was alive. Colin Farrell's character, his donkey eats one of Brendan Gleeson's fingers, because Brendan Gleeson has now decided to cut off all of his fingers. So it's like, okay, so be it. And his donkey dies from it. That leads to Colin Farrell losing it. And as his sister is now gone to the mainland, he's got nothing to worry about, so he wants to burn down Brendan Gleeson's house. And he does. And again, this is a fascinating movie because it's set behind the Irish Civil War's backdrop as well. So we're not sure what's actually going on all the time. But what we are getting as an audience is the journey along the way. And we're discovering more things as things are taking place. And this is what makes this movie really good. Yes, there's a lot of comedy to this film that makes, that breaks up any kind of pacing issues. Because there is, it does slow down a bit because the pace of life at that time isn't as fast paced as it is now. And it's a welcome reminder that, sometimes, you wouldn't mind having a bit of a quiet life in a certain area where it's kind of rural, you've got the fresh air, and you've got a group of friends. If you're living in a city life, you haven't got that. You've got to keep up with the pace. If you're not keeping up with the pace, then it's okay. You just find your own pace. You will find your own friends, all the rest of that kind of stuff. But it can be challenging. Whereas in that sort of environment, all that you've got is that community. Everyone knows everyone's business. That was quite neat. And at the end of the movie, you don't know whether they ever become friends again, if Brendan Gleeson's got it out of his system or not, but he's got no fingers on his hand. So it's kind of funny. And Colin Farrell, I think he's still sworn to vengeance. But it's just done in such a nice way. I would strongly recommend that you watch this movie. It's good from the usual pace of the usual blockbusters, and it's really happy. You feel good at the end of this movie. I don't know why, but you do. Even though it's a tragic comedy. As always, guys, whatever platform you're watching this on, give me a like, give me a follow, give me a subscription. This all counts. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you don't know how to do that, you all need to go back to school. So says the TYCOON.